What's up, guys? Clutch Coverage Sports here. Braden here with Sports Action with Jaxson.
Yo, what's up, guys? Big shout out to StreamYard for powering this podcast for us. Let's roll right into baseball. So as you can see, the Aggies beat New Mexico State. Then they lost 4-1 the next day. I guess it's good for them. They got a series win, but man, I kind of feel like New Mexico State's a team you should sweep. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I also think the problem is it's just inconsistent offense. You can't ask for a pitcher to go out there and throw a scoreless game and only put up one run. You're never going to win. And then you put up 19 the night before, so it's just very streaky offense, very inconsistent. Jace Lavalette looks pretty awful at the plate. Anytime he's 0-2 or even 1-2, they're throwing a low curve and he's swinging in the dirt every time. Or he's reaching for something and popping it up. But, they just got to get the bats going. The pitching has been okay. They've had some bullpen guys step up, and then their starters have looked great. But, yeah, they've dropped to 19 in the rankings, and that's a sweep you have to have. We'll see how they look against Bama this weekend, though.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a minute here. Let's talk about Stanford, baby. Picked up a big series win over UNC, and UNC is a great baseball team. Stanford's still not in the top 10. I was kind of surprised by that. I don't know. I feel like after you get a big series win like that, you should be in the top 10. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. UNC only drops to 6, but Stanford is a good ball club. They won, if I'm not mistaken, it was 13-9 the first game, and then they got run-ruled, actually.
Or no, wait, no. Did they?
Stanford won 13-9 in the first one.
Yeah.
And then UNC run-ruled them in game 2. You kind of thought the series was turning towards North Carolina.
Yeah.
And then game 3, Stanford wins 7-0. So
I know, absolute landslide in that game 3. It almost makes me think like it is because I really haven't watched UNC on Sunday games this year. Because they scored a lot more runs game 1 and game 2. Do they not have a Sunday pitcher? I really haven't paid much attention to them on Sundays. I know Fridays and Saturdays have looked unbeatable. So, honestly, big win overall for Stanford. I'm just curious to see how that's going to correlate in the next week. Was this Stanford just the better team, or was North Carolina having a bad weekend? I'm interested to see that. Moving on, SEC teams, I think we can all agree Arkansas is finally getting their bats hot. They're really starting to hit the ball. Aloy, man, he's looking like one of the best players in baseball. That's going to be a hard guy to pitch against this year. I'm kind of excited for Arkansas. I mean, they're getting their bats hot right now, and they have one more, I guess, non-conference. They're playing UCA this week. It's kind of weird how there's some SEC and then there's some not. I don't really like that. But now LSU, let's talk about them. They look pretty good too. They're kind of scaring me, though. They're letting some of these teams score a little bit too much runs that I'd like. Letting too much. I mean, they're winning their games. I mean, it could be a lot worse. We could be like the Aggies. But I don't know. I just think we got to play a little bit better defense. Let's roll into predictions for this week. So, Alabama at A&M. Braden, who do you think takes the series?
I think the Aggies take the series. I know they haven't looked too good, and I know Bama's looked pretty good so far. I think I'm going to go 2-1 with the Aggies. I think they win 2. I think they start hot and win the first 2 and drop the Sunday game with the lack of pitching. I think Prager, he might even hold Bama to 2 runs or less is my prediction there. And then Lampkins looked pretty good. He struck 9+ in the last 3, 9 each game in the last 3. So I'm going to go Aggies 2-1 in that series.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a better series than honestly, I think it could be the series of the week. I think this A&M team is a lot better than the record shows. But I mean, dude, Alabama is a really good baseball team. I mean, they have that what is he, a shortstop, LeBron, or is he second baseman?
Short.
LeBron,
I don't know. I think he's shortstop.
Yeah, he's a stud, man. That kid is a stud. Honestly, I'm going to go the opposite end here. I think Bama takes the series 2-1, but I will say I think that Friday game, I think I'm going to give that to A&M. I think Prager, because he's y'all's Friday guy, right? Or is he Saturday?
Yeah, he's Friday.
Yeah, I think he takes that Friday game. But But I think Saturday, Sunday is the other end of the spectrum. I mean, I don't know. This Bluebell crowd, they're all going to be packing out that stadium for the Friday game. Saturday, there's going to be a lot of people. And Sunday, we all know how that works. Sunday's not near as much people. I think we can both agree Sunday's probably going to be Bama. I think they just got a little bit deeper pitching staff. Or they look like it right now. I mean, this all could change. A&M could get hot. I mean, A&M arguably has more talent on their team. But as far as who's playing better, I think it's Bama. And I think you ride the hot hand with Bama. I think Bama is playing a lot hungrier. I think they look – I don't know. Give me the Tide. I think it's a better series than people think. I think it's going to be a really good series. It wouldn't surprise me if A&M won, but I do not think it's a sweep either way. Moving on, let's go Florida at Tennessee. This is another really good series. Me personally – or actually, I'll ask you first, and then I'll give my thoughts.
I'm going to go 3-0 Tennessee. I know it's a hot take, but, it's at Tennessee, right? And Tennessee, I mean, they're dominating teams, and they haven't played anybody that's too notable. But Florida usually starts slow in the SEC play. I know it's a full new team, but I'm going to go with the Vols. They're definitely winning the series, and I'm going to go sweep.
Yeah, that's not a crazy take, honestly. I mean, this Tennessee team looks legit, but I don't think they sweep. Honestly, I think Florida could win this series. I don't know if I'm leaning – I really don't know which way I'm leaning more towards. I think Tennessee's a bit more complete of a team. But if this Florida team can get hot – I mean, against Miami, they looked like the better team in all three games. They ended up losing the third game. But those first two games, man, they looked really good. I think they've played a lot tougher teams than Tennessee has as well. I wouldn't be surprised if Florida smacked them in the mouth Friday night and won that game. Sunday, I think Tennessee takes, and Saturday, I think it's going to be up in the air. Honestly, just because you went Tennessee, give me the Gators. Chomp, chomp, baby.
All right, we'll see. Hey, we'll see.
Well, now we got Mizzou at LSU. I think we both know what's going to happen in this series. I'd be very surprised if anything other than a sweep happens for the Tigers. I'm talking about LSU here, not Missouri. I don't know. Any disagreements there?
No, I think the Tigers or LSU rolls. I'm going to make a little prediction. I think Mizzou builds a lead on Friday. They start up like 3-0 or something, and then LSU's like, all right, enough playing around.
Yeah.
They come out and dominate the rest of the series.
Man, I would really hope that doesn't happen. Cade Anderson's a great ace pitcher. I would hope that doesn't happen to him, but you know what? Anything can happen. I think the game that LSU might struggle the most in would be probably Saturday. Ianson is he's a freshman pitcher, first SEC start. I mean, I don't know if I don't think we lose that game, but I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if Mizzou did build a lead off in that one. Okay, let's moving next forward. UNC and Louisville. Who do y'all think takes that one? You go first.
I think UNC bounces back and wins the series. I don't know if it's in 3, but I'm going to go UNC here.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I agree with you. I think UNC sweeps too. And a game we skipped over, Ark at Ole Miss. I was thinking of the game on Tuesday. That was UCA. So Ark at Ole Miss. What's your thoughts on that? Both top 25 teams. Yeah, what do you think?
I don't know. This is a tricky one for me. I think if it's in Fayetteville, I think it's dominated by Arkansas. I don't think it's a sweep either way. Ole Miss is 14-1, I think. I think they've only dropped one. Texas. But they haven't lost since.
I think they're 2 lost. I think they lost to was it Arizona or?
No, they beat Arizona. Okay, I think they're 1 loss. I just pulled it up.
Okay.
It was a run rule to Texas, but ever since then the bats have been rolling. I'm gonna go with Ole Miss 2-1 here.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to disagree with you there. I think Arkansas is playing really good baseball right now. I mean, Ole Miss, they look good too. I don't think it's a sweep either way. I think Arkansas is going to take Friday, or really Ole Miss could take Friday. I think Arkansas takes Saturday and Sunday. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to predict who's going to win what game, right? But give me Arkansas 2-1. I mean, they're scoring 20 runs a game right now. They've been really rolling these bats. The only thing that's going to worry me is if their pitching staff can hold up, but we both know they have a really deep bullpen. So give me the Hogs. At Ole Miss is going to be tough, yes, but I don't know. I think Arkansas is a top 5 team in the country, and I think they're going to show it against Ole Miss. Okay, now we've got Miami at Wake Forest. What's your thoughts, Brayden?
This is not a hot take. I would say it's a warm take. I'm going to go with Wake sweeping the series here. I think Miami, they have looked like a good baseball team, but I think Wake gets it rolling at home and wins all 3.
Yeah, that's not a terrible take at all. I don't know if they sweep. I'm going to go Wake Forest for sure, but I think they take it 2-1. I think Miami might win that Sunday game. I mean, I don't know. It could be a sweep, but I'm right there with you. I think Wake Forest is going to win this series, and I think there's going to be no question on who the better team is. Notre Dame at Clemson. Thoughts there?
Yeah, I think Clemson's definitely the better ball club. I think they win the series, and I honestly think they sweep. So we'll go 3-0 Clemson.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think Clemson sweeps as well. If they were to drop a game, again, it would probably be that Sunday game. But, I mean, they came in there and they swept a really good South Carolina baseball team. I don't think Notre Dame is the same caliber team or same coached. They're not as well coached as South Carolina is either. So, yeah, give me Clemson in 3-0. Moving on to the Big Ten. So we got 2 scrappy ball clubs, USC and Notre Dame, USC and Michigan. I know Michigan was a team we were high on after week 1, but they kind of, weren't as good as we thought, right? We jumped the gun a little early on them. USC is kind of a team that's kind of coasted through. I mean, what are they, 3-4 loss team right now? But they have a good ball club. Who do you think wins this series?
Yeah, I don't have a lot to say about the Big Ten. I'm going to go Michigan at home. We'll go 2-1. I don't think it'll be a sweep either way. Both teams are decent enough to win games, so I'll go 2-1 with Michigan.
Yeah, give me USC 2-1. Michigan kind of failed me a couple weeks ago. They weren't the team I thought. I think they're definitely – I don't think it'll be a sweep either way, but, yeah, give me USC. This USC team beat Vanderbilt. I don't think they're a bad baseball team, but I don't think they're a great baseball team. And you'd say the same thing about Michigan. Now we've got two really – I mean, that's the thing about Big Ten baseball right now. They're not great baseball, but you have some scrappy teams in the mix. Nebraska at UCLA. What's your thoughts, Braden?
I'll go UCLA 2-1. I think it's another one that there's no sweep because they're both decent baseball clubs. I'll go with the Bruins 2-1.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I think the Bruins take this series too. Nebraska is not a bad team. But, they played LSU. They blew a 5-0 lead. Then they play Kansas State and just get waxed. I don't know if they have the pitching. They can hit the ball. Nebraska can hit the ball really well. But the thing about this UCLA team, I think that they have the edge on is I think they have a 10 times deeper bullpen. And when it comes to these series, man, if Nebraska were to drop Friday or Saturday, that Sunday bullpen is really going to come in handy for UCLA. So, yeah, give me UCLA. I'm right there with you. Now, let's move on to basketball.
Yeah, let's go basketball. It's conference championship week. One of the most underrated weeks of sports, I believe. It's teams that from the mid-majors are trying to make their way into the tournament. The only way they can is to go out there and win the conference tournament. And then you got guys fighting for the bubble in those big conferences. Let's hop right in let's start with the Big 12. A conference kind of loaded by Houston this year, and Texas Tech's been pretty good. Let's start with some of the games going on. The first round matchups, not a lot stick out to me, so let's hop in kind of the second round. Let's start down at the bottom. Kansas gets the winner of UCF and Utah, and if they win that game, they take on Arizona. Do you think they can make it past Arizona?
Man,
Arizona's kind of dominating that bump.
I'm taking Arizona. I mean, you know how I feel about Arizona. I think they're a good basketball team. Yeah, I don't think they lose to Kansas.
Yeah, I think Kansas is definitely one of my sleeper teams. I actually have them winning the Big 12 tournament. I think they get it rolling, kind of turn this season around. So I'm taking Kansas to win the Big 12 here. Some other notable games: Texas Tech versus Baylor in a good matchup. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, give me Tech. I mean, I'm not even sure Baylor makes it past the winner of A-State and K-State. This Baylor team's really disappointed me this year. And, yeah, I don't think they beat Tech. I'm sorry. But.
No, that's fair. I think there's 3 teams in this Big 12 that need wins. It's Baylor, it's Cincinnati, and it's West Virginia. They need big wins to be able to make the tournament. Do you think which of those 3 teams do you think has the best chance to make the tournament?
You know, I think your Cincinnati Bearcats. I think they got a good shot. I mean, that other than that, man, I don't think I really just don't think Baylor does anything. I mean, this Baylor team is just not a normal Baylor basketball team. Sorry, I'm doing a lot of hating on them, almost like they're Missouri here. But yeah, no, give me, I guess Cincinnati if there's any of them to make a run. I think Cincinnati could potentially beat Iowa State. I don't know if they will. It's a tough game, but I think they could. I think they could very well win that game.
Yeah, I do too. I haven't beaten Iowa State. They haven't looked great lately. Just a little takeaway from Baylor. Joe Lunardi with the predictions has them in the last 4 in. So, a loss to a team like K-State or Arizona State might push Baylor out of the tournament.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see. If they win one, they'd feel pretty safe about making it in. But they might be playing in on Tuesday or Wednesday. Just to wrap up the Big 12, not much to talk about. Who do you have winning the whole tournament?
Give me Arizona. I mean, we all knew who I was going to say there. Give me Arizona. I think they got a good shot of winning it now. Could they run into a hot Cincinnati team, or could they run into, I mean, if Houston doesn't go down early, right? If Houston's just playing Houston basketball, I think they could lose that one too. But I mean, I'm looking here. I think they could beat, the winner of the Kansas game. I think they could win the winner of the Texas Tech game. Like, I think they could win those games. I think they have a clear, not easy path because, I mean, there's some good basketball teams in the Big 12, but I think they could easily get in the championship. And then depending on who they play, which even if it is Houston, I think they could take that one too. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. I think Arizona, they have looked good. I have them dropping the game to Kansas, but I think the winner of that Arizona-Kansas game wins the whole thing. I don't think Tech is too legit. I know people are talking about them. They're honestly talking about them like they're a top 4 team, and I don't see that. But that's all I have out of the Big 12. Let's highlight some things out of the ACC real quick. Duke headlines as the top seed after beating UNC on the road to end the season. And then Louisville and Clemson are the only other 2 teams that Joe Lunardi has safely in the field. Let's talk bubble teams real quick. UNC and Wake Forest, what do you think they have to do to make the tournament?
I don't think UNC has to necessarily win the tournament, but I think they got to win a couple games for sure. And honestly, I'm going to go on record. I think UNC could win the tournament. And here's why I think this. I think they looked really good against Duke. And if they can run into Duke in this tournament, I don't have the bracket pulled up. I don't know when they would. It's hard to beat a team twice, especially in around the same time frame, right? I mean, what was this game? If they were to play, it'd probably be like a week later, right? So I don't know if Duke can beat them again. I mean, Duke is a great basketball team, and obviously I do think Duke probably is going to win. But man, UNC could win it, honestly, and I think they're that bubble team that everyone should be watching right now.
Yeah, UNC actually they'll get the winner of Notre Dame and Pitt. They should have no problems with that. But then they'll actually play Wake Forest in the quarterfinals. So maybe a bubble matchup of if you lose that game, you're definitely out. But if you win, it might spark you and move you towards in the tournament. And then they'll have to get Duke in the semis. But like you said, if they beat Duke in the semis, I think they're in. I think they've done enough, and beating a team like Duke, who's a 1 seed, should put them in the tournament.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm going to go Duke to win the whole thing, though. I think you're right there with it, unless UNC could beat them in the semifinals. So, but Louisville and Clemson, they just don't stick out to me. I think it's Duke UNC winner.
Yeah.
All right, we'll highlight the Big East real quick. St. John's looked like the best team in the regular season. But let's go some of the standouts. Marquette, number 5, I think they can make a run. They had a big game against St. John's that went to overtime and won by a last-second shot by St. John's. And then Creighton, Creighton and UConn are 2 teams that are already in the tournament as well. What do you see when you look at the bracket? What team stands out to you?
Man, I think looking at the bracket, I think Villanova could do something. I don't know. I'm going to be honest. I haven't watched a whole lot of Big East basketball this year. I've kind of paid attention to St. John's a little bit, but from what I've seen of Villanova, like they've kind of showed flashes to where they could be really good. So I guess that's my team I'd go with here.
Yeah. So I actually picked Villanova to win the whole thing out of the Big East tournament. They have the best player in the conference in Eric Dixon. He leads the team. He's averaging 20 points a game. And, March is sometimes just about who's got the best guy. I think Eric Dixon is definitely the best guy. I think they run into, if they can get past Seton Hall, they do have a tough path. They have to play UConn and Creighton and then either St. John's or Marquette. So it's a very hard path. But I think they can get it done and win the Big East tournament and make the March Madness big dance, because that's the only way they can get in is if they win the whole thing. St. John's is the betting favorite at plus 150. I know we both dabble in some betting. Would you take St. John's at the plus 150?
Yeah, I think it's, it might be a little bit of a sweat, but I think St. John's is the best out of the conference for sure. They're a good basketball team. Plus 150 is a little low though, but man, if I'm feeling them that day, I guess maybe I'd nuke them. I don't know, but yeah, honestly, if you're thinking about betting it, I don't think it's a bad bet, but it's not like they're playing in the SEC tournament here, right?
Yeah, I don't love the value, but I like the chances.
Yes.
If that makes sense. 150 is a little low, but they do have a good chance to win it. So a couple notables that stick out real quick. Butler could make something happen. And then, we talked about Villanova. Creighton could also get it done. Let's move on to the Big Ten before we get to the SEC. Another quick recap. Michigan State's kind of been your team all year out of the Big Ten. They're the clear number 1 seed. Do you think they win it, or do you think another team gets it done?
I think they win it here. I'm looking at the bracket. They'd play the winner of Oregon, Indiana. I think they single-handedly win that one. I think UCLA makes it out and plays them in semis. I don't think Northwestern, Minnesota, or Wisconsin could be. Wisconsin maybe, right? But
yeah, I think not a bad team. I think I'm with you there, though. Michigan State and UCLA in the semis. I think Michigan State honestly has a really easy path to the championship, because I don't think UCLA and Wisconsin are that good. But then, the bottom half is a dominant. You got Maryland, Michigan, Illinois, Purdue. 4 teams that are going to be in the tournament and 4 teams that are good basketball teams. Personally, I have Michigan versus Michigan State in a rematch in the final, and I think Michigan actually takes this one. I think Michigan State, they've already solidified themselves as a 2 seed in the tournament, and Michigan's kind of pushing for a 4-5. They're right at the 6 line right now, so I think Michigan gets it done.
I'm going to combat you there. I think Maryland's going to be the team to play Michigan State, and I think we're going to get a really good rematch of those 2 teams. But I think Michigan State's going to take it. I agree with you. Michigan could end up winning that one, but I think Maryland is the better team between the 2. I don't know. I think we could see another Maryland, Michigan State, and I think we'd see another classic between the 2.
Yeah, I actually have Illinois beating Maryland in that quarterfinal game. I think that's going to be a very good game. Illinois, I ever since they got blown out by Duke by about 45 points, they've kind of turned the season around. They've won some of the big games late. They beat Purdue to end the year, and I think they could beat Maryland. But that's going to be probably the standout game of the tournament up until the finals. So, but yeah, I do like the bottom half of that bracket. Is there one team you can give me out of that first group that you think can maybe make it to 2-3 rounds?
Man, maybe Rutgers. I don't know. I will say this. I don't think Ohio State's doing anything. And I don't think USC is either. But, I mean, if we're looking at Iowa, Rutgers, or, Minnesota, Northwestern, I don't know, maybe. But give me the Rutgers. I think they could make a run. But I don't know if they make it past Purdue. If they do make it past Purdue, I definitely don't think they beat Michigan. But I'll ask you about. I think the Rutgers could make a little bit of noise. What about you?
Yeah, I think my pick would also be Rutgers, just because I don't think Purdue is that good. But we got to look at the bubble teams too. Lenardi's got Ohio State close to the field. They're honestly right now as the last team in the field. So, they lose to Iowa, they're done, I feel like.
And you know what? I think they're going to lose. I'm going to go down on record and say that now.
Yeah, I don't think Ohio State's a very good team, but I think, Iowa's out of it. So I think Ohio State's playing for their life here. I think they might get the dub. But they're not going to do anything in March. They're going to lose in the first round regardless. So even if they make it, I wouldn't be too high on them. Let's move the last tournament. We'll spend a lot of time here because it's the SEC. It's the most loaded field. Let's start, with an interview by Arkansas's own John Calipari. Direct quote, word for word, "I don't care about the conference tournament." That is what he said. Does he think Arkansas is solidified in the field no matter what, even if they drop South Carolina?
I think he does. Just because, it's his team and he's seen them play, he knows what they can do. I think he definitely does think they're solidified. Now, are they? I don't really know. Honestly, I think they should be. I think they're a hot team, and I think if you look at who's trending, yes. Now, I do think they need to win a couple games. I don't know if they can just go out there and drop that game to South Carolina. Now, if they drop the game to South Carolina and South Carolina makes a little run, maybe even won the tournament or something crazy, I think that's a different story. But if they're going to – I don't know if they can lose the first – I don't think that they can lose the first game and expect to be in without, a little bit of a sweat. But I think Calipari definitely thinks they're in. And, I don't know. It was a little crazy quote thing to say, but I think what he means by that is he's not losing sleep over the tournament. I think he definitely, wants to win games. I don't think he's going to go in there and just guys, go have fun. I think he's going to coach them to the best, to his best and want to win that game. But yeah, I don't know.
No, I agree. I think I don't want to say it's no sweat because any team can win on any day, but I think he's pretty confident they beat South Carolina. I'm already checking them off as beating South Carolina. I've already got them written in advance.
Yeah,
because South Carolina, they looked okay as of late, but dude, they're not a good basketball team.
Well, yeah, no, they're not. And what I was going to say about that is I know last week I said I could see them making a run, and that was before I saw them get put against Arkansas, right? Arkansas is playing really good basketball, and it's really hard to beat a team twice, especially when it's kind of in the same time frame, right? South Carolina didn't just beat Arkansas. They embarrassed them. And so I don't think that they're going to just come in there and get the same result. I think Arkansas definitely does take that game. I don't know if you saw this, though. Apparently, Boogie Fland is going to try to make a comeback for March.
That would be big for the Hogs. That would be. Yeah, I think when you said South Carolina could make a run, I think Arkansas is a bad matchup for them. I know that they beat them by about 25 points earlier in the year. Or not earlier in the year, honestly, a couple weeks ago. But I think they've drawn a bad matchup. If they get a team like Vanderbilt or Texas or OU, then I get what you're saying. They can win the first one and maybe get hot, but they just have a bad draw. let's highlight some of the other first round matchups. Texas at Vanderbilt. Winner gets Texas A&M. What do you think about that Texas Vandy game?
Oh, man, I think it's going to be a good one, but, I mean, don't let Trey Johnson get hot. Vanderbilt's a scrappy basketball team, but I'm going to go ahead and take Texas on this one.
Yeah, I'm with you on Texas. I think Vanderbilt is they're already in the field no matter what. And then Texas is one of those first teams out. So, they beat Vanderbilt and they beat Texas A&M. I think Texas makes the tournament. But we'll see how that goes because I don't see them beating A&M, but they very well could. Another first-round matchup, LSU versus Mississippi State.
Yeah, no, Mississippi State's going to probably beat LSU by double digits. LSU's just not that great of a team. I love Cam, but that's the only player that I think LSU has that's worth anything. They're just not a good roster. They're not great coached either. It sucks to say it, but
I'd miss Will Wade right now. I would. I don't like McMahon. Will Wade's got McNeese hot lately. I mean, they've been a dominant force as a mid-major. So losing
Will Wade's just trouble. But now look, he can't get in trouble for doing what he did at LSU, right? Yeah. Like Will Wade's a great basketball coach. I don't argue with you. I don't argue with that at all. But the thing is it's like, would LSU bring him back? I personally would, but I don't know if they will. But I mean, then again, Arkansas brought back Petrino. I mean, I've seen crazier stuff happen. So yeah, no, but I think McMahon has probably another year or two, just because I think we know that like we're not really a place where coaches really want to come coach. I mean, I guess if you're coming from a really small school, yeah, but I don't know. It was kind of like the Saints head coaching football job. Like not a lot of people really want to.
Yeah, I agree, but football is a lot different than basketball. I think basketball, you get a guy who makes a run as a mid-major team, like a coach from Drake or a coach from just a mid-major team that's historically good, can try to turn around one of those low-level SEC teams in South Carolina and LSU. I think South Carolina is going to be looking for a new coach. And LSU, they might be very close to that. But as far as the matchup goes, I think Mississippi State rolls pretty dominantly. The last matchup of the first round is OU and Georgia. What do you think about that one?
I think that's going to be a really good game, actually. It's honestly my favorite game out in the first round. I mean, I did like Vandy, Texas, but I think Trey Johnson's going to have a game against Vanderbilt. But for Georgia, OU, man, I'm going to go with OU here. I don't know if that's a crazy pick, but yeah, I think OU can win that game.
Yeah, I think OU has to win the game. It's a must-win game. They're one of the last teams in as well, and especially if you look at some of the mid-majors that might steal bids from some of those at-large teams when winning the conference tournament, you might be looking at a must-win game for OU. Georgia's already in the field. I have OU winning, but I agree with you. It's going to be the matchup of the first round. Let's look at some of these second-round teams. Ole Miss, they'd be playing Arkansas, South Carolina winner. Do you think Arkansas can get it rolling and beat Ole Miss as well?
I do. And you know what? The first time they played, Arkansas had a chance to win that game at multiple points in the game and just couldn't get over the hump. I think they do get over the hump. I think it hurts not having Thiero, but I think they could get over the hump against Ole Miss, and I think they could win that game. Honestly, I think they do win that game. So give me the Hogs.
Yeah, I've penciled in the Hogs too. I think they beat Ole Miss. Ole Miss is a team that I don't believe in. They're a little overhyped to me. Let's see. Ole Miss is right now as a 6th seed. I think that's way too high for the Rebels. But Arkansas, where are they at? Arkansas is an 11 seed, 11 seed. So yeah, I think they're fighting for a seed here. I know Calipari said he didn't care about the tournament, but the players are not going to not care about the tournament. So I think the players, take accountability and just step up and win that game. The next one, Texas Vandy, the winner of that game. We both have Texas versus Texas A&M.
Yeah, honestly, I think Texas can beat A&M. Man, but you know me, I've been picking against A&M pretty much all year. I think Texas wins that game. I mean, they need to win that game. Like we were talking about earlier, they're a desperate basketball team. A&M can lose this game and be completely fine. Texas needs to make a showing in this tournament. So I think Texas wins that game.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you in the the basis of position of Texas has to win. A&M is kind of like, oh, we're already a 3-4 seed. It's fine, But I don't think, it's a big rivalry game. It's Texas versus Texas A&M. I don't think the players do that. And Texas A&M is notably probably one of the best conference tournament teams that I've seen. I mean, for the past 3 years, they've made crazy runs. The 1 year with Jabari Smith at Auburn, they knocked them out as the 1 seed. A&M was the 8. They made it all the way to the final. So I think A&M is a tournament type team. Wade Taylor has also been hot. I said he cooled off, and then he goes out and becomes A&M's leading scorer of all time.
They're retiring his jersey.
They've already hung the jersey, which is a mistake to me, but he hadn't even graduated yet. But
oh my God,
he's a great player. I think he's got hot. I mean, let's stop and talk about that. That's insane. I think.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. I mean, like, why did they do that? Like, I don't understand.
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. I get it. Emotional night, but senior night, it doesn't make sense to me.
I don't think I've ever seen anybody do that, like, ever.
I don't know. I don't know why A&M always has to be the team to do something stupid and get posted about it all over. I mean,
my God,
they're always doing something like that.
I mean, you guys wonder why you guys are the most hated on SEC team. That's right there is a prime example why.
Yeah, dude. And Buzz Williams is a great guy, but he's got to step up there and be like, all right, what are we doing here? It's a kid he loves the kid. There's no doubt. He loves all his players, but there's no way you're hanging a jersey in the Raptor, retiring his number. He hadn't even graduated yet. So it's crazy, but I think they beat Texas. The second round matchup of Missouri and Mississippi State, as long as Mississippi State beats LSU, what do you think about Missouri or Mississippi State?
Yeah, man, give me Mississippi State. I'm just not that high on Missouri. And Mississippi State's a really good basketball team, in my opinion. I think they've lost some ones they probably shouldn't have. Like Arkansas, there were several points in that game they should have won, but they didn't. DJ Wagner had the game of his life. I think Mississippi State beats Missouri.
Yeah, I'm with you. Missouri, they have beaten some pretty good teams. They beat, Alabama. They blew them out. But we've seen Alabama can go cold at times. I think they haven't shown up for the mediocre game. They're a team that can lose to anybody at any time. And I think Mississippi State, they use LSU as a warm-up game. Sorry to say that against your Tigers, but I think they used them as just a scrimmage. They go out there and dominate, and then they beat Missouri in the next one. We both have Oklahoma beating Georgia, looks like, but the winner of OU Georgia gets Kentucky. It's going to be a tough match for either team. What do you think about that game?
Yeah. Man, I know I've been known to pick against Kentucky, but I just don't know if OU can beat Kentucky. Yeah, give me Kentucky.
Yeah, I think so too. I think, that OU Kentucky game a couple of weeks ago was a great match. Great matchup with the guard play. But I think Kentucky rolls. Arkansas, Auburn, or Ole Miss, but we both have Arkansas against Auburn. What do you think?
Man, I think Auburn wins that game. Arkansas, they're not going to – they've already won 2 games, right? They've pretty much cemented – I think if you beat Ole Miss, you cement your way in the March. And I think playing Auburn, they're a really good team. But, man, this Auburn team is just – they're dirty, man. I would love to see Arkansas win. Don't get me wrong. But I don't know. I think Auburn's a really well-rounded team. And, man, Arkansas almost had them the first game. But, yeah, give me Auburn.
I agree with the Auburn. I'm gonna take the Tigers. But Auburn has never been historically good in tournaments. They dropped last year to Yale in March Madness. They've been beaten as a top seed by teams like A&M in the past. I think they come up flat. I think they still beat Arkansas. It's 3 days in a row of basketball for Arkansas. The legs are going to be tired. And it'll be interesting to see for all these games, teams that have to play 3 to 4 games to get to the championship, if they can keep, the players healthy, players rested, players, that's going to be a factor in the tournament. So, but I'm still going to take Auburn. And then we have Texas A&M versus Tennessee, or in your case, Texas. But even if A&M wins that game, what do you think about them playing Tennessee?
Man, I don't know. I think Tennessee beats whoever wins the A&M Texas game. Maybe A&M could make something shake against. I think A&M would have a better chance than Texas would against Tennessee. But, I don't know. I think Tennessee takes whoever wins that one. Yeah. What do you think? I
have A&M here. You could argue it's a homer pick, but I can give you facts why it's not. It's riding the hot team right here. A&M's a tournament type team. Wade Taylor's hot. They got the best offensive rebounding in the league. And then you're playing Tennessee, who hasn't looked very good these last couple games. And again, using Texas as a warm-up game for Tennessee is how I see A&M. Tennessee's got to come out flat. They haven't played since Saturday, and you have a team that's just played Thursday. I'm going to take the Aggies in that midday game. Mississippi State, Missouri winner gets Florida. Is this even close?
No, Florida wins whoever they play. I think Mississippi State can maybe make it close against Florida. I don't know, but Florida's a really good basketball team, and I don't think I don't think it'd shock anybody if Florida even made a run to potentially win this tournament. Give me Florida.
Yeah, I think Florida too. Nothing much to say about that game. I think Florida's the best team in the SEC. I've kind of been on that all year over Auburn, but I think they have no problems with Mississippi State. Winner of OU, Georgia, plays Kentucky, and then the winner of that game gets Bama. What do you think?
Yeah, Bama's going to beat any of those three teams. Bama, they need some wins right now. Obviously, they don't necessarily need, but as a team, they need it. You know what I mean? And they're coming off a big win against Auburn, and I think they ride that wave against who I think probably is going to be Kentucky who they play, but let's say it is an Oklahoma or Georgia team. I think Bama is going to win either way.
I think Bama should win. But I think Kentucky, if they beat OU or Georgia, I think, Bama's a team that relies on shot making for their really lackluster defense. It's not special by any means at all. And I think, if Kentucky gets warm in that first game, Bama might come out flat. I think Kentucky can give them a scare and a shootout, but I'm going to take the better team in Alabama. They're a much better team than Kentucky, so I'll take them. Semifinals, Auburn versus, it could be Texas. It could be Texas A&M. It could be Tennessee. Do you think any of those teams have a chance at Auburn? And then who do you think has the best chance?
If we're looking at all these teams here, I guess maybe A&M or Tennessee would have the best chance against Auburn, but I think it's going to be probably Tennessee. I know you said A&M, but either or, I think Auburn wins that game. Yeah, I know we talked about they're not a great tournament team, but this year's team, in my opinion, is different than an Auburn team in years past. I think this Auburn team legit is a good basketball team. They lost to Alabama, but that's the Iron Bowl, right? That's top three. You ask me, I think it's the biggest rivalry in college sports. But, obviously you have the weirdos who say Ohio State, Michigan, anyways. I think they lost that because, high stakes, high drama game. But, they're playing a, Tennessee or A&M team. I think they go out there and I think they win. They're going to be a lot more fresh. They have a game that they've already played to kind of get warmed up in. I think Auburn rolls.
Yeah, I have Texas A&M picked in this game again.
Homer pick.
No, dude, and I've told you why. I think you got to ride the hot hand of Wade Taylor. I want to highlight something about Auburn real quick. I don't know if you watch much Chad Baker-Mazara. He's got 7 flagrant / technical fouls this year. He's kind of in what they call a YN, today's terminology. But he's got some issues. He actually in the last tournament against Yale picked up a crucial technical foul and kind of and he got ejected from the game. So he's been a problem. He got ejected at Alabama against Alabama. Do you think they can bounce back from, I guess, having a different piece of their team who causes problems, who makes locker room problems, who makes on-court problems against other teams?
Yeah, no, I'm like I said, I still think Auburn. I mean, they might have a guy like that, but still, I don't think it's going to impact the game that drastically. Like, I really don't. I really like. I know what you said about A&M being hot, but I just think Auburn is significantly better than Tennessee and A&M. So, I mean, I don't know. Janai Broome, if once he gets that ball, if he starts getting hot, who's going to guard him? Who can play against that guy when he's rolling?
Henry Coleman, Pharrell Payne, Solomon Washington, and Anderson Garcia. They held Janai Broome to 8 points in the last game, in their only game of the season against Texas A&M. They have been the only team to really shut down Janai Broome, and I think that matchup-wise, I think A&M has a good matchup against Auburn. If it's Tennessee, I think Auburn rolls because I don't think they have anybody to stop Broome. But when you got a rotation of 4 good bigs, you pick up a foul on one of them, sub, next guy, you can't get into foul trouble against Broome. So I think A&M provides a good matchup, and I think they win. But if it's Tennessee, I think Auburn rolls that game. Bottom half of the bracket, Florida versus Bama is what we have. Could be Kentucky, could be Mississippi State, but let's take it as Florida, Alabama. What do you think?
Florida. Give me the Gators. I think Gators, like I said earlier, I think they're going to be the team that wins this tournament. And I think they beat Bama in a very close ball game. I think there's going to be a lot of drama in that game, but I think Florida, man, that's just they're a good basketball team. So give me the Gators.
Yeah, we've kind of preached on, I guess, beating a team twice in the last week is difficult. But if a team can do it, it's Florida because they have looked so good. They're playing Alabama. They've just played them last week. But, dude, picking against Florida, man, they look like an NBA team playing a high school team at most times. They look that much better than most teams. They have a complete roster. Walter Clayton is a great player. They have Elijah Martin, Will Richard. They have at every position a top. I guess you could make a case for a first or second team player in the SEC. I think they're that dominant. I think they roll Alabama or Kentucky, and then that goes to the final. Florida versus Auburn. In your case, I have Texas A&M. Could be Tennessee as well. What do you think about that game?
I think Florida takes it, man. I really do. And I think, Auburn could win that one. And I guess, if we want to get crazy here and say A&M, I think that's another team that could maybe put up a fight against A&M. I think Auburn is the only team. I think they could beat Florida. I mean, honestly, if you ask me who I think is a better team, I really don't know. But right now, I'm leaning more towards Florida. So I think Florida wins the whole thing. And I think it's a great game against whoever. I mean, if they play A&M, A&M's going to be hot, but A&M has played a lot more basketball games than Florida has. And I think that would take a toll in that game. So give me the Gators.
Yeah, I agree. I think because I have A&M, I'll talk that matchup first, and then I'll do Auburn. But with A&M, they've had to play that extra game. And I think that's the part where we kind of take into account, well, they've had to play, 1, 2, 3. This is their 4th game. And it's only Florida's 3rd, which is a big difference. 4 games in 4 days against 3 games. So I'm going to go Florida. I think they win the whole thing regardless if it's Auburn. I think Auburn does give them a good test. I have said I think Auburn is a little overrated. I think they're a team that can get bounced early in March Madness, but they also could win the whole thing. I mean, they have the second best odds behind Duke to win the whole thing. But I think Florida wins the SEC championship.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to argue with you at all. And I think we both kind of could agree on that. Florida's just playing good basketball right now. And I mean, right now I'd put them in my Final Four. This is a really good Florida team. So, yeah, I'm with you there.
Yeah, we'll do one quick kind of question statement to wrap up the podcast. Looking ahead, I guess, to next week in the big dance, which one or two seed along those lines, I guess, has the best chance of losing in the first round?
Ooh. Man, I guess like if you want to make the argument Auburn, but I really don't think they do. I don't think Florida does either. Is Bama going to be a 1 or 2 seed, or are they 3?
Yeah, I'll read you the teams. So Auburn, Duke, Houston, Florida will probably be the ones. I don't see any of them losing to a 16. And then Bama, Tennessee, Michigan State, Texas Tech are those 2 seed lines.
I think Texas Tech or Bama, but I think Texas Tech I don't know. I don't think they're as good as anybody else of the teams you named. I think Michigan State's going to be fine. And I think all 4 of the teams you named at the top, the 1 seed are fine. But, I mean, Bama has proved to be kind of shaky at times. So if Bama plays a really hot team and they're not making their shots, Bama could lose as well. So I think Bama or Tech, it would not surprise me if they dropped a game early.
Yeah, I agree with the Bama. I think they could go cold. I don't think they will. But two teams for me that I don't see making out of the first weekend is Texas Tech and then a 3 seed line, St. John's. I know I've picked them earlier to make the Final Four, but the more I watched from St. John's, they are one of the best defensive teams I've ever seen play the game of basketball. But when it comes down to March, it's who can put the ball in the basket. And if they don't have shot makers, they have one guy who I would, life on the line, let's shoot a free throw to save my life, because they can't shoot free throws. They're not a good 3-point shooting team. RJ Lewis is the only guy who can knock down a shot. I think St. John's, we didn't talk about them a lot. I don't see a path for them to get out of the first weekend, because I think they'll play a team like Kentucky or Kansas in that second round. I'm taking the big school. I'm taking Kansas or Kentucky to beat St. John's.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I don't disagree at all with that. Yeah, I think
Tech, we both picked Tech as a team. I think they're one of those teams that is so overhyped that it's kind of obvious that they'd lose to a 15 or even a 7.
Yeah, 100%. And they're the type of team to go in there, head held high, like they have nothing to worry about. You know what I mean? And that is proved in years past. I mean, Kentucky against who was it, Oakland last year? I mean, they kind of came in there like there was going to be no problem at all. And then, man, that boy guns blazing 3 after 3. That's one of the craziest performances I've seen anybody ever play.
Jack Golke, shout out.
Yeah. Shout out my man. That was man, that was awesome. I mean, that game right there is why you love March Madness. Yeah. I mean, seriously. I think you could make an argument for, maybe college baseball's postseason, but it's still not March, right? I mean, we're going to see some crazy games, and I bet me and you we're neither one of us can have a perfect bracket, obviously, but there's a reason that there's never been a perfect bracket, right? Yeah. I mean, man, I'm excited. I'm excited for March.
Yeah, well, this will do it for the podcast this week. Next week, it'll be a March Madness special. We'll talk some sleepers, some teams we like, some upsets that we think can happen, and then we'll make our picks for the Final Four of the championship. So we'll see you guys next week.
All righty. Again, thank you to StreamYard for hosting this podcast for us. But, yeah, we'll see you next week.